I'm Kytia.
And I'm Jerrell.
Welcome to our podcast where we talk about glowing through life
Instead of just going through life.
It's a his and hers perspective about modern topics and hot button issues.
From Christians just like you.
Well, let's get into it. We're gonna glow through it. My faith in God, He taught me how to do it.
Hello, welcome to Glowing Through It. This is another one that we're doing. My dad just finished still working on something on the computer, one of his art stuff, and he's working on it, and I hope you are having a blessed day, and bye.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Glowing Through It. My name is Jerrell Connor, and I'm here with my wife,
Kytia L'amour. Hello, Jerrell.
Okay, before we even start, the Jerrell, which is not Jerrell, it's Drail, is not a name or a word, but it was my name at the, sushi place that we went to get takeout from the other day. I told him my name twice over the phone, and when I got the receipt, it said customer information was Jerrell. So that's why she's saying that. So anyways, welcome to another episode, everybody. This week is my week, so I'm taking over, and hopefully this topic isn't garbage. So today I want to talk a little bit about, it's kind of just pressing because it's news. It's something that's in the news, and I think we all can relate to it.
Oh, no.
And it's nothing bad, I don't think. Basically, the wake of coronavirus. The world is reopening, so is it just business as usual kind of a thing? So with that, I know we all, no matter where you are, if you're in America or another country, if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, different states are already open. Many counties are reopening, and they're doing the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Some are advanced in their phases. Some are early on in where they are. For us, being in California, and we're there, basically there was news conferences even just a couple hours ago announcing different things that are opening. They're reopening the malls. They're reopening restaurants, I guess, where you can come in and sit down and not just have takeout. So I kind of want to just talk to you a few points, because I remember in high school and in college when there was like a traumatic or nationwide event or global event that's affecting people, like 9/11 or Columbine, or even like local riots, like when the LA riots happened. Like the teachers would take the kids in the class, and they just it was hard to focus on the lesson. So it was just kind of a way for us to dialogue and talk about it, and like to see like where everybody was, what's their headspace like. So with that, I just kind of want to talk about a couple points and see what my wife, her insight is, and all this without getting political. That's something that I really don't like when people do that, making everything a political talking point, and it's not necessary. I mean, you can talk about what's going on in the world and not have to put a slant on it, or to have to stand up for a politician or a government official. Just kind of go by what's really happening, what's real facts, what's really in the news, and I kind of want to just kind of stick to that, because I know on my social media feed, it's just a bunch of people being divided based on what side of the political aisle, I guess, they're on. And I don't want to be in that kind of place where it's like, you say this and I'm against you, and you think this, so you're stupid. And so that's not what we want to happen. I think this time is a special time when we need to be coming together and not being so divided. That being said, I think there's a lot of fears and concerns. A lot of people are scared, and I know I can tell from people's posts online when different things open up, like, oh, they're opening up a mall or they're opening up a department store, and then people are like, no, don't do it, just stay home, it's dangerous. And they don't know, like, oh, the official said they can open up a beach, but then are we supposed to go outside? And like, oh, how do you do that safely? And there's just a lot of fear and a lot of reservations that people have. And on the other side, some people can't wait to get back out and to how things were, having going back to a sense of normalcy, basically. And some people don't even wait for the mandates or the politicians or officials to open stuff up. They just do it like whatever they want. So, like I said, for us in Southern California, they started, I think we're recording this on Thursday. So I think tomorrow, Friday, they're talking about opening up malls and restaurants and different things. So I don't know if it's happening like tomorrow or if it's already happened or if it's a plan that they're putting in place for maybe next week or something. But needless to say, things are changing. Just even going out to get groceries and different things, I noticed different stores that weren't classified as essential before are reopening, and people are going to those stores and going inside locations, and malls still haven't been open, so maybe that's a new one that's about to happen. But it does open up a lot of questions, and I know people have a lot of fears about that. Other big industries that are about to open up, there's basically most of the major sports leagues are not just talking about opening up, but they're actually making plans and scheduling things to be reopened. I know for me, a lot of my artwork and business had to do with sports and doing stuff for athletes and different things, so that does affect me, and also being a big sports fan. I know that's a big issue for a lot of people, and they have I know a lot of sports fans really want sports to start back up again, and then other people feel like, what's the point? Like, it's entertainment, but is it really safe, and at what cost? Kind of a thing. Because there was an article I was reading where it was talking about college campuses. How are they not safe for students, but they'll be safe for athletes? So I think there's a plan in place for certain, I don't know, Pac-10 football schools to be, I guess, starting their practices, and they'll probably start games soon once they roll it out, but they'll be without fans. And if the student athletes are playing sports, then how can students not go to class, kind of a thing. And I know that's probably a big talking point a lot of people are going to be arguing about. It's just about money, and they just want to get money because that's so much money for those schools comes in from their sports programs. So there's a lot of confusion, a lot of, like, have you been hearing some of these reports, or like, do you have, like, what are your feelings about the world reopening and how people are, I guess, handling it?
Thank you, Mr. Connor from the studio. This is Tia out in the field. I'm on location. I'm on location with my mask so that I can't breathe and I feel like I'm suffocating in it. I have heard that different things are reopening. I think the weirdest thing to me is just being in this time that is, they keep saying it's unprecedented, never happened before. And it's like we people who are alive today haven't really experienced this on a global scale ever. And I think it's just like, how is this going to work? And even just like the damage that has been done, how long is it going to take before we truly see and understand what that is, and before we understand the impact that it's really taken on the economy? Because I feel like it's never going to be, or it's not going to be, oh, back to business as usual, and everything's going to feel normal. I think it's going to take a while. Like, I'm predicting that it's going to take at least a year for things to feel like, quote unquote, normal. Like, remember before the pandemic happened? So I think by hopefully, the beginning of next year, there won't be all of this mass hysteria. There won't be all the division like you were saying. And I think the unfortunate part about the whole thing is just how the media has handled it, because obviously ratings get money. And, if you watch the news, even if it's not a pandemic, murder, 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 race wars, politics, like scary, 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 kidnap, kidnap. And it's like everything is just really horrifying. And then you have this, which is like a gold mine for people to just like latch onto before they even really have the facts. And I think that's the thing that bothers me so much, is before really having the facts, before really assessing the situation, before really understanding what we're dealing with, everybody is just so quick to talk about how terrible this is. Millions and zillions of people are going to die. All these things are going to happen to us, so we shut everything down, and then we're still figuring it out. So when you have a large majority of people who look at this thing like this is the deadliest thing ever, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to us. We're in a war against a virus we can't even, see. And then, of course, if those people are feeling that way because you made them feel that way, then someone who's like, considering the numbers, considering the facts, considering new information that we have now, yeah, we need to get back to some sense of normalcy. And then the ones who are, freaking out are just like, how dare you even think about that? And like you were mentioning with like football or school or whatever, oh, it's all about the money, the greedy, money hungry, greedy people are the ones who are making these decisions. And I'm like, no, actually, Martha, who can't feed her 3 children, who's been out of work, who still hasn't heard back from unemployment, who never got her stimulus check, like, she's the one who's like, I need to get back to business. Like, I'm not going to sit here and let my kids starve. Or, people who, feel very isolated, and then they're like, might as well kill myself because I've been suicidal for 3 years anyways. Like, this is the worst case scenario for them. It's just so much damage that has been done, and so many things that we need to kind of figure out as a whole. But I think a lot of people are just looking at their personal own bubble in their life and saying, because I feel comfortable doing this and this and this, everybody should agree with me. And therefore, if you don't, you're a murderer, you're horrible, like, you're garbage. And I just feel like the whole thing is just terrible, how it all was handled and everything that went on. And, also as Christians, I don't live in fear, and I'm not going to sit around and allow somebody else to tell me how I should feel and everything. Yes, there's guidelines. Like, I'm not just going to be like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care what the rules are. I'm a real follower. And so I do, to the best of my ability, do what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy though. And I feel like even for me, I'm just like, man, I can't do this anymore. And just for me, for my own life and my own perspective, I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, we can't do this forever. This is crazy. So to answer your question, I definitely do feel like there's a lot of division. But with anything, there's this huge escalation. If you've seen it in any subject, huge escalation. This is, the major focus in our lives. And then it'll die down, and then the next thing is the huge worst thing that's ever happened to us, and the thing that we should be focusing on. And it's already started with, police brutality. And I was just looking on Twitter, and there's all these race riots, people looting Targets, and burning down businesses because of this. So I'm just like, oh, so the pandemonium of COVID-19 is wearing off. So now we need to be something else to be scared and like mad about. Like, it's just crazy. It never ends. So I'm just like, we need to be prayerful and be even tempered, even keel, really think things through, and not allow our emotions to drive any of the decisions that we make, because that's when you get extremes, and that's when people end up, in these heated, far sides of the spectrum. That is just not healthy for us as people and a community.
Well stated. I did want to address a couple of those points. Fear is definitely a major factor in all of this. Um, I am all for being safe and following guidelines that are helpful for my fellow man and doing things that are going to be helpful. Um, but when things are, I guess I had this conversation with a group of friends on Facebook, and there was a post that something was being closed down, or they were talking about like Los Angeles being closed down for extended period of time. This was a few weeks ago, and then there was mixed opinions about it in the post or in the thread, and my point was basically like, I'm all for being safe and following the guidelines when they're helpful, but there's a lot of things in guidelines that are essentially just moving the goalpost. It's like the finish line keeps being moved. How can we can't really operate in a place like that. It's not something I think that's reasonable to expect that citizens will just keep doing. Like, you keep pushing things out and definitely are changing the reason why stuff is being closed down. And this is not so much happening right now, but there are talks about other places, counties, scaling back or adding more restrictions after they've opened up. But basically, like, initially when it closed, I remember they were saying we need to self quarantine, we need to like be together apart or whatever, so that they could flatten out the curve, so that they can give relief to the hospital, so they wouldn't be overwhelmed, and everything. So that kind of happened, and then people say, well, the numbers are down, and then we flatten the curve, and it's doing better. And then it's like, no, we're going to keep pushing it out. It's like, are you expecting that this is going to be eradicated and no one will have to have a zero count of outbreak? And it's like, that's not reasonable. That's not going to happen. And especially if you're thinking this is going to be seasonal, you can't just be locked up because until they have like a vaccine, and then it's like 18 months later, but it's already coming back if it comes back. So it's just they keep changing the story and the narrative, and that's where I think a lot of people get upset. And a few weeks ago, when Orange County opened up the beaches because they were allowed to, and it was a good thing to do for people to get fresh air and be in the sun and all these different things. And we went out there to the beach, and people where we were, it was like no one was being disrespectful, no one was being like breaking all these rules or making it a big deal. But like 2 days later, I think it was only open for like a day or two, then the governor was like, oh, we're going to shut down everything, and people are being irresponsible. And it's like, who? No, I mean, if there's someone in some other city, or they have footage of some people that are like, what do you expect? Like, they're at the beach, but not everybody's doing that. Most of the people, everybody we saw was like in their own group. And so it's like, when you give people like, hey, you guys are free again, and then actually, no, we're going to take it away because it looks bad on the news. And there just really wasn't reasoning, because like it was just a lot of things that people were kind of fed up with, and I didn't appreciate that. And I feel like people aren't stupid, and they're gonna only put up with these types of things for so long. So I'm glad things are opening up, and I think they're doing it in a safe way, and I think they're being over cautious, which is fine, because most people are scared of things being opened up too soon. So it's like an extra layer of appeasement to kind of set people's minds at ease. Like I mentioned, some counties are actually scaling back after spike in cases, but for me,
What did they expect?
that's my point. It's like, did you expect that you were gonna open more stores and restaurants and businesses, and then you would have less cases? I mean, it's like, it's almost like they're just operating in irrational fear, or they're doing things in a way that proves the point that they want to like close down more, or have more restrictions, or take away more liberties. It's like, oh, we'll open up these things because we know that there's going to be more cases. And it's not a crazy amount of cases either. It's just like some places they don't have increase. Some places do have a marginal. The most I heard was it doubled one county, but you can't even tell like
The
where they're
county was
coming.
500 people.
So, and it's like things like that don't make sense. That's the kind of the upsetting part. Um, and for me, like, should we even care about the numbers? Should we fear the numbers? Because a lot of how these things are reported, and doctors have said this in many interviews on various, wherever you get your news from, it's been reported on various places. They'll count anything as corona related COVID-19.
And let me tell you how this works. Because exactly what Jerrell was saying. Like, I didn't know this was happening before, but apparently the guidelines are very loose. Basically, if you die with COVID in your system, you're labeled as a COVID death, whether or not that was the real reason why you died. And like recently, there was basically a list of deaths, and like one of them was like a 27-year-old man, and it's like he's only 27 and he died from COVID. And then you keep reading, and then more information comes out. He was murdered in his car, and like, Lord help his family, like, please. But things like that, I just feel like it's like this is a little misleading to be reporting it like this. So I just wanted to add that, because I'm like, that's great, like that's Twilight Zone to me, like it really is.
Yeah, and it's good to know the facts and the truth about why things are. I think it's Attorney General or Surgeon General, someone over the health part, forget her title, with the White House, was saying early on in a press conference, we're going to be very liberal with how we, and loose with how we assign who has COVID-19 symptoms or deaths, how they attribute it. And I believe the number that hospitals get for COVID deaths, if a patient has it and dies from anything, it could be pneumonia, or it could be like maybe they have a breathing issue, or they have diabetes, or they have other things that aren't related to COVID or it being in their system. I think they get like $17,000. That hospital gets paid $17,000 if they report it as that. So there's a lot of reasons and things, and doctors have said that this is going on, and this is what's happening, and this is how they get money, and this is like, it's fine because this and this. Well, even like, okay, that's the game they're playing, and that's how they categorize things, and that's how they list it. Then at least I know when they say these reports and these things, I know what that number is. And I know these many people dying from COVID doesn't mean actual cases. Even if you go to CDC, you see the number, and it's like, there's a couple numbers. There's one that's like actual confirmed cases, then there's like another number that's like related or probable COVID, but they still count those. So all this said, I'm not saying that no one's been infected, no one's getting sick or dying. It is a real thing. But we need to just not be in such fear of the numbers or the reports, because they're not reporting things the way that they say they are, or the way that you think.
It's not transparent.
It's definitely not transparent. You can do digging, and you can find certain news outlets or certain doctors even and hospitals that are saying how things are, but by and large, the mainstream messages and media that you're getting is going to be under this guise of, this is the actual report, or this is all you need to know, so be afraid of these numbers. It's so bad. So still be safe, still all that stuff, but just know what numbers are, what they mean, and where they're coming from. Did you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think because I feel like there's that statement, knowledge is power, and in a way I agree with that. I don't know specifically if I agree with that exactly. Like, I prefer scripture over, cool sayings and stuff, but honestly I feel like speaking to fear, because we want to bring this back to the Christian walk, and one of the reasons why we talk about things like this isn't to be another news outlet for you guys. Because, I mean, this is stuff we talk about in the car and in the privacy of our own home, because we have our own opinions about it. We do our own research, and we don't just want to be another person just like, here, let's keep talking about this. But I feel like just relating it back to not allowing people to tell you how to feel, and having knowledge and being able to see things in perspective. I feel like there's a lot of empowerment with that. and a lot of peace that comes with that. Because just relating it to everyday life, I know for me, when I used to deal with anxiety and fear a lot, thank God I don't anymore. It's only by his grace, him helping me to heal through that. But when I noticed that a huge underlying problem when I did spike in like fear and anxiety was just the unknown. And whether it was I'm going to a social event with people I don't really know, instant diarrhea because I don't know these people and what I'm going to talk about, or there's a test or something, and if I feel like I studied well and I know what I'm doing, go in there confidently. If I don't, it's just instant diarrhea. So, and then just like other things that you're going into, like, oh, motherhood is new or marriage is new, and you just think about, or I used to think about like worst case scenarios that could happen, and that fear would drive a lot of my decisions. But now, there are some things that you just can't prepare for. You don't know that are coming, but things that you can, and information that is out there. I know for me, it really helps because I talked to my dad a lot about, this situation with the pandemic and stuff. And he lives in Florida, which people are like, Florida is stupid. And like, I can't believe they're doing this and that. They're doing fine. And a lot of people, even in his own family, are like, you should be more scared. Like, look at your age. He's in his mid-50s. He's not even that old. Jerrell's parents are like, I think your dad's in his 60s and your mom might be in her 70s. They're really not that scared or broken up about all this stuff. But being able to take our time, not rush into how we feel about it, and just say, like, you know what, if I have more information and I know what I'm up against, then I can kind of prepare myself for following the right actions versus the fear mongering of, oh no, this could happen to me. And then if it does happen to me, like, what if the outcome is this? Because I saw someone on Instagram today, and she basically was like, it's with a heavy heart that I share this news with you guys. I just tested positive for COVID-19. And she's like in her 20s. She's an influencer. And she was saying in the last 75 days, I've left my house like 4 or 5 times. I never, leave it unless it's absolutely necessary. And then, everybody, like, it's not funny, but you would have thought she's writing her own obituary right now with the way that people are reacting to this. And, some people are shaming her, like, I can't believe you left the house at all. I'm just like, in 75 days, she left 4 times. First of all, how did you do that? But secondly, like, you're going to shame her for, like, the 4 days she went outside? Like, oh my goodness. And then on top of that, she has a really great chance that nothing terrible is going to happen to her. If you just look at the numbers, it's not like it's a 50-50 chance, she going to end up in the grave or not. It's like you have an overwhelmingly positive prediction of that you're going to be okay based on the numbers. But yeah, it sucks to see people getting sick or whatever and being scared like that, because I'm just like, when you're afraid and you have a position of influence, then you're putting that out there, and then other people, you're just passing that on, and it's just not, it's just sad to see, I guess, because I think many of the people, everyday people, not including the media, like, I think many of the everyday people, they really are, wanting the best and trying to, fight the right way and do the right thing and save lives and all of that. But if you don't have the right data, and you don't have the right facts, and if you're allowing fear to drive any of your decisions, like, we can make some very dangerous, I guess, decisions sometimes that affect us, that affect others, and that really just screw up the mental health and us being able to have peace of mind in the long run. Like, you just can't live like that. And that just goes with anything in life, any unpredictable thing, any huge world-changing event. Like, you just cannot afford to just live in the fear of uncertainty, especially when we have God, that you can pray to, that you can seek wisdom, and that you can just like focus on that. Because at the end of the day, even if we were going to get bombed tomorrow, heaven forbid that happen, I know where I'm going afterwards, and I'm really okay with that. But if you don't, and you don't have that, knowledge of the afterlife and eternity, like, I can imagine it'd be super frightening for you. If if the worst thing that can happen to you is that you die. So just wanted to say that. Back to you in the studio, Mr. Connor.
Thank you. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay. Okay, I got it. So And I think that kind of underscores what, like, in closing, I wanted to like make sure to do is just bring some encouragement, because that seems to be lacking today. Most of the stuff is just fear this, fear that, don't do this, hate those people because they're doing that, don't do like those people. It's just a lot of things to incite, and to get people basically very fearful. And I think some of the good things that I've seen come out of this whole lockdown in this situation, this unprecedented situation, is it's caused a lot of people to take account of their lives and how they're living, whether that's their business, whether that's how they are with their family, whether it's personal goals or different things. A lot of people are kind of recalibrating during this time, almost like they're going in hibernation. They have time to change their life into something that they actually desire to do. And as believers, I know we are seeking the Lord. We should be seeking the Lord on what He is calling us to do, and what we're doing in any time, but especially in this season. I know it's easy to get off track, and then you get in the rat race, or you get in this hamster wheel, or you get in this system and structure that's not meant for you to prosper or to do well, or um, it's meant, like, it really can corrupt your whole perspective, and you get into this fixed place where a lot of people are, where it's like, I'm just gonna do this, and this is my 9 to 5, and this is how I do, and these are my priorities. And then when you have like a earth shattering thing where your life is shaken, then you take inventory of what's important. And I know a lot of people are doing that right now, and I think that's one of my hopes, is that when, like, coming out of like the aftermath of COVID-19, life after coronavirus, is what are you doing? Is going back to normalcy really a great thing? Like, a lot of people think that it's not going to ever be the same, and maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, if we know that there's more that we could be doing or should be doing, if we understand, like, the value of what our true friends are, or spending time with our family. There's tons of people who started their own business, or they had to, like, recalculate, how do I can't rely on a job because they furloughed me, or they laid me off, or whatever. So and I know, even for me, I've been focused a lot during this time on some of the things I'm doing with my company, and new book that is being put out, and a lot of different things where God made it very clear, like, do this, do it now, focus on this is priority. And even in the midst of, like, the highest unemployment rate in in the nation, and in the history of the nation, or all these different things that's going on, it's like, what's really important, and how are you using this time? Because some people are still working, some people are still doing, like, they're essential workers, or they work for food places, or things like that. So, or Amazon, and they have jobs, and things are normal, and they haven't changed a lot. But I think it does cause it is a cause for pause, basically. Like, it's affecting everybody in some way. Maybe people can't travel, or haven't been able to travel for a long time, so they're kind of stuck in this, like, holding pattern. So I just encourage anybody out there, really, if you feel like disillusioned or aimless, like, pray, ask God to give you guidance, because a lot of places are already opening up. And for me, this was probably a month ago or so, a few weeks ago, where I felt I felt weird, kind of, about things reopening, where it's like, yes, I want things to be open. I want to get back to Disneyland. I want to go back to these places and see movies and actual theater and all this stuff. But the notion of it opening and reopening again, it felt weird, like, and I couldn't really place it. But I think what it was I didn't want this to be a missed opportunity. Like, I felt like there needs to be change in my life personally, in business, and in ministry stuff, but just in the world. I think this is a great time for us, especially as believers, to be ultra focused on what God is calling us to do as we come out of this whole thing. Life in the world may look different, but we should definitely be different. We should be renewed in our walk with God and more connected with the relationships that really matter and are important. And I think this often happens when there's a worldwide event or a tragedy in people's lives where they reconsider things. So I think this is a good time to reconsider if you haven't already. Pray about it. We'll do a prayer before we close this out. But did you have any closing thoughts?
Basically, just agreeing with you about what you were saying, because you're basically talking.
I am basically talking.
Because you're basically talking about your personal experience with this time and how it's affected you in a way of like just Jerrell. Like, what is Jerrell going to do in this time as a person, as a child of God? And I think, like you were saying, there is this in the beginning, God created. No, I'm just kidding. No, like in the beginning of this whole thing, like many of us, including myself, is just kind of like, all right, well, can't wait for this to be over. And you're just like on pause and like, man, like just wake me up when it's done, basically, because I got stuff to do. And I really felt like that. And then God just basically reminded me, like, there's been many times in my life where there's been an upheaval of sorts that just turns your life completely around and upside down and sideways, and you're just like, Lord, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing something. This is a process, and part of you is just like, man, just wake me up when it's done then, because I feel like this is gonna be hard and like I don't want to do it. I mean, be honest and raise your hands in the comments, like if you ever feel like the Lord is up to something in your life and teaching you a lesson, or you're going through a trial or a test, and then you're just like, I would prefer not to really be conscious for this. Like, I just want it to be done. So in the midst of that, just the Lord showing me the power in rest. And because as creatives, me and my husband, we have so many ideas. We have so many things that you guys don't even know about, where it's just like this and this and this, and like, let's get it done. And when there is like the pausing or upheaval, you're just like, what about my plans? And then you just like don't really know what to do about that. And God is just kind of like, yeah, because I need you to be intentional about this. I need you to learn this lesson. I need you to open your eyes and your perspective on this other thing right now because of what I'm preparing you for. So none of us really knows exactly what's next, but we know in this moment and what we're going through that God is sovereign and he's good and he will work it out for our benefit as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do on our side as his child and seeking him and obeying him and all of that. So yeah, I would just say, like, if I could encourage you guys to do something, it would be, do not treat this as a press pause button. Continue to move forward and continue to grow despite whatever is going on and how your life has changed. Seek the Lord and like, well, what does this mean for me? And for Jerrell, it's pivoting some of the plans he had and like presenting and publishing his book, and like, well, we were going to go on tour, we're going to do signings, we're going to do a launch party, but then now what do we do digitally instead, because we can't do a lot of that stuff. And for me, it's like, well, I had all these intentions of doing this and that and all these videos, and then he's like, focus on the podcast, also rest, also heal from certain personal things that have happened in my life just this year, and don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you should be doing, I got this life coaching class, then I got this, e-course, then I got these 5 new books. Like, no. Unless the Lord is literally telling you to do all that, he will give you grace for that. Believe me, because there's been times where I've had piles of assignments and I don't even know how I got through it. And then there's times where I really needed the rest and I'm like, I can't do nothing else but this. Like, I know if I try, my head's gonna, blow up. So be diligent about what this time is meant for you personally, and asking the Lord seriously, like, what do I do? And how does this potentially change my life and redirect my course or make my path a little bit differently? And don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the change that might come with that, and be a little uncomfortable and be a little unsettling, because you're just like, man, like, all this stuff just fell through, and like I had this meeting and I had this opportunity, like, and you see this happening with a lot of people who are influencers or celebrities or anybody. They're just like, oh, like I was right there, like this huge launch and this huge thing, and like, oh, like I was married, and I was about to graduate, and like all these major events, and they're just like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, literally, what are you gonna do? You can't change it. You can't go back. I don't have a time machine. I don't think anybody else does, but we just continue to press on and move forward and be thankful, and then just also think, well, if this is something God knew was going to happen, he has a solution and he has a plan, and this is going to be great. It's going to work out amazingly for me because I am a child of God, and he's going to help me through it, and I'm going to be pleasantly surprised when all this is over to see how he connected the dots and made this happen and lead to wherever he was trying to take me in the first place.
Amen. Yeah, in closing, I wanted to leave you guys with a couple of scriptures that I feel it will be encouraging for a lot of people. Because regardless of open or close or job or no job or sick or healthy, I think that we need to have the proper perspective and outlook in our lives. And a lot of times it can be skewed by what the system or culture or media is telling us. So Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And in Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God goes with you wherever you go. So be encouraged, you guys. God is with you, and we really don't need to be anxious about whatever way this thing goes. If we're submitted to God, if we're seeking him, if we're spending time with him, it'll be clear with what's next, and what's next for you will be good. And you have a couple of things to plug, or I have something?
Well, you can go ahead and pray, and then we can.
Okay. All right, housekeeping after this prayer. Lord, we thank you for this podcast today, just your word going forth. Thank you for your wisdom and your guidance, Holy Spirit, leading us in this discussion and in anything that we face where it requires our choices or decisions. We just seek you for clarity. We seek you for the wisdom in how to move forward, because it is a forward-moving thing that in this Christian walk that we need to continue to do. It's not, like Tia said, where we're pushing pause and just kind of staying back or retracting or backsliding in any way. So we're always advancing in you, Lord, and thank you for helping everybody who's tuning in today, all your children, the believers out there who are fighting fighting the good fight. And a lot of times that can be different to different people, but as we seek to serve you and to seek your way for our lives, we just pray that they would discover it clearly, that you would speak to them, that you would help them and protect them in this time, but also help them to see clearly the path that you lay before them. Father, anything that's being shaken in the lives of believers or non-believers, Lord, may those things be the things that need to be shaken and taken away, so that the real, the true, the long-lasting, the meaningful things will remain, Father. And anyone who doesn't know you, we pray that they come to the knowledge of you, that they, in this trying and unprecedented time, that they will have an unprecedented yearning to draw near to their Creator and to seek you in this time, Father. And we pray all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Oh, I did want to say, if you guys want to leave a comment below, I'm just curious on, because I like this to be a dialogue, what you guys think about everything reopening. Are you on the side of, hey, I can't wait to get back to things being open, or are you on the other side where it's like, it's not safe and I'm not comfortable with that? And if you are interested in things being open and excited, what are you most excited about reopening? I always am curious if people want to go to movies right away, if they miss Disneyland like we do, or if they're just kind of like, I just want to go to my favorite restaurant or to be able to go to the park or something. So if you guys have thoughts on that, just leave it in the comments below.
Can I tell mine?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm entering this poll, and I've thought of this before where I'm like, what would I be most excited to get back to? And a couple of things came to mind. And I think just the mall in general, like, because I have a daughter and she likes to go into an air conditioned place. You know, it's about to get hot. It's summertime. And there's like little rides for her. And the mall near us has a little arcade and different things to do. Get a snack, grab a slice of pizza, get a smoothie, whatever. And even being able to get clothes that I need, but not have to wait for Amazon to do it and be able to actually go inside stores. But yeah, I think definitely just sitting down and dining in at a place would be cool. I do like going to the movies. We don't go a lot, like all the time, but even if it's just once a month or every other month, it's just nice to have entertainment and going to a place just to listen to live music, like downtown Disney, even if you're not going to the theme park, but just like all the shops and getting dessert and listening to, you know, jazz, like a jazz player, like right there in front of you and stuff like that, just being outside amongst people. But my number one spice that I'm looking forward to is the abolishment of the mask. Like, honestly, that is the thing that bothers me the most. Because, I mean, whatever you feel about how effective it is, I don't care necessarily. But when I wear it, it's hard to breathe and I just hate it. And I remember the first time I started seeing people wear them, we were picking up Pizza Hut pizza, pepperoni, double cheese. And I remember this is when people weren't really wearing masks, but workers at different companies were. So Jerrell went inside to grab the pizza for takeout, bring it to the car, and I saw like a woman, a regular civilian, you know, walking in and coming out with her own mask that she had. And I just remember thinking in my head, like, this isn't the world I live in. Like, it just felt so terrible. Like, it felt apocalyptic and just like everything is going down the drain and everything is dangerous. And I don't know, I just felt like this isn't right. Like, this just isn't the world I live in. Like, it just felt very bizarre and Twilight Zone and horror movie. Like, it just really made me feel very bad and uncomfortable. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I know that's a very dramatic. I know I'm being dramatic here, just so you know that. But that is definitely the number one thing that I'm looking forward to them doing away with it. Who knows how long that's going to take. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to doubling up on my mask, wearing two at a time. I think that'll be cool.
Wearing it to bed.
There's a gas mask that I saw. I think it'd be cool to walk around in that, but that might be overkill. But we can try that instead. So, anyways, we're building a bridge to the house cleaning. So, anyways,
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
That's what they say when they're like, oh, let's get to like any updated news, any current events for us. They call it housekeeping.
I know. Can I call it house cleaning?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to the house cleaning part of this podcast where we clean house. So the thing I was going to plug, we talked about it earlier. It's my new novel. It's an illustrated novel called The Trials of Samson, Bloodlines. So this is something that, as we talked about earlier, my company, xoxo Entertainment, we had a huge plan to roll out this book release and do a book tour and to do all these things and signings and book readings. And then COVID-19 hit. So that kind of threw a wrench in all of that. So what ended up happening, we were giving our book a sample version of it free, like a ebook.
And some of you guys read it. Thank you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. All of us do. And so we did that for a while, and then we felt led to really not wait on the whole lockdown to be lifted, because I mean the book is done, the full book. So it was kind of a thing that Tia brought up, and we had a conversation. And it was like, yeah, God definitely doesn't want this to sit in a warehouse or in the hard drive of a computer or something. It should be read and published and released for the public. So the thing I'm plugging is the book is finally going to be released. This is going to be up on Sunday, so it'll be Monday is the official release. So you guys may be some of the first people to hear this.
Monday, June 1st.
Monday, June 1st, the book will be out, and it'll be purchasable, available for purchase on Amazon. And we're doing a few, I think, really cool things that God kind of put on my heart to do. People seem to be really interested in the idea of doing a book club, and it's hard to do that right now until things open up, but you can do it online. And there are a lot of actually Facebook is really littered with book clubs, groups that are
be littered?
is so many. I started looking them up, and I was like, wow, there's like every kind of genre and subgenre category has like so many groups. But we're gonna do one specifically for this book, and it's gonna be really cool because that's one of the places that I think we're gonna push most of our interaction and engagement to. So we want to do things like meet the creators and do video content and trailers, and do like reading together, like sections where we'll be reading at the same time, and a lot of things that we're excited about rolling out is going to be on that Facebook group. So if you go to xoxo.com, which is EGGIZO, we'll have a lot of updates and things on there. And you can find out about the book club and the new book that's going to be released, but also you can search Agizo Entertainment on Facebook if you're on Facebook, because it'll be easy to go from Facebook to the group page. Agizo Entertainment, EGGIZO Entertainment. If you're on Facebook, you can just do a search for that group, and I'm sure all the information will pop up for you there. And that's it for me.
And I'll definitely leave links, because this podcast going up on Sunday, the last day of May, and the book will be live on June 1st. So once all of the links are ready, I will be updating in the description box to those who are listening who would like to check this out.
Thank you very much. And that concludes my part on the show today. Take it away.
So a little bit more house cleaning for me. So my husband has a book that him and his company publishing is going to be live on Monday, June 1st.
That sounds familiar.
And there are pre-orders that have happened already. If you guys missed that, it was a cheaper price, and I believe you're going to be signing the books and mailing them off yourself. Yes or no?
They are not signed. Only way to get signed books is going to be from our in-person book signings.
Okay, so but the pre-orders, you're going to be mailing them out.
We're mailing them out, but we're not going to touch those. They're going to go from the warehouse.
Okay, so basically those of you who had a good discount on the pre-order, you'll be getting your copy. But also I wanted to let you guys know the next video of me where you see my face is going to be next week as well. And I'll be doing a giveaway during that video, during that message that I'll be posting. And it'll be a bundle. My devotional, Grow with God, 31-day devotional, as well as Jerrell's book. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and that's going to last, I think, about 2 weeks. Let's just say 2 weeks after I post the video, I'll be announcing the winner and then mailing those out. So you have a chance to get a free copy. So basically just stay tuned for video that comes out of myself. But it's exciting, and it's cool to just see progress and things moving forward. And speaking of being on camera, some of you guys have mentioned like you would like to see us on camera for these podcasts. That is definitely in the future a plan, but currently, with just the time that we have to devote to this right now and what the Lord has led us to, us doing a video to accompany the podcast, it doesn't just be like, oh, it adds like 30 more minutes of work or double the work. It's like 3 or 4 times the work to get those out if we were to like actually set up and record these in video format. So, but yes, it is coming eventually. I don't know when. That is, the Lord has to let me know that. But I am looking forward to that because I do miss just having a more approachable and personable videos out there. But this is what it's gonna be for now. And whenever I have the leading of the Holy Spirit to put out anything where I'm on camera and giving a message, I think that'll happen more soon. A lot's just been going on with the world, and it's just been different. But we love you guys, and that's all I had to say. Is that it, Jerrell?
That is all.
All right, well, thank you for listening. If you don't mind leaving a comment, leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a review on different platforms. This is on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Castbox. And so whatever format you're on, if you could support us and all of that, that'd be great. If you do want to financially sow into this ministry, I do have a PayPal link. It's paypal.me/Kytia L'amour. Thank you for everyone who's given $1, who's given $100, who's given $200. Like, I'm always blown away. I always feel so encouraged, and just like it motivates me and helps me to like know people actually care about this and that God is doing a work in this. So thank you, and that's it. So we love you guys, and until we talk to you again, be blessed. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit a big thumbs up. We hope you're good, and God bless you. Bye. Thank you so much for hearing this.